Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Rosie here, and I play Dead by Daylight, so you don't have to. Still kind of sick here, so just kind of bear with me, but I thought I would at least make a video on this real quick here. If you recall, a couple days ago, we made a video, that was rather critical of the, upcoming patch that is coming in, and I'm sure it will be one of the very few videos that are critical of the upcoming patch, as nobody in this community seems to have a backbone or is going to actually combat the pig slop that you are receiving from this company, except for me. So, if that's the kind of shit you enjoy, you should also quite enjoy this video, as the company couldn't be asked to leave well enough alone. So here we are again, and they dropped their future plans on us that will be happening to us in the upcoming months. And needless to say, these changes do not look very good. If you are a killer player, you should not have any hope or expectation that things are going to improve in the upcoming months, because they will definitely not be. Because based on what they have released here, nothing looks good. Now, I will give a disclaimer here before we proceed, that these are not complete patch notes, obviously. Even if you look at August, there are things that they are leaving out, such as the nerf that is taking place to camping, as well as they left out perks, including the most relevant buffs. Flashbang and is the most relevant buff, and they also left off the fact they're buffing the extremely bully perk, the bully perk, Blast Mine. They left off their buffing the bully perk and the really good perk from their perk tweaks down there. So these are not complete patch notes. So it is very possible that you will be getting more in the upcoming months than this here, and I acknowledge that here. But what they did give us does not look good. And we will start with with what is up top there for September and October, the finish from Mory. Survivors are going to likely laughingly call this a buff for killer. This is not a buff to killer because you've won the game already when this goes off. It does not matter if you get this off in a match or not. If the finisher Mory animation is playing, the game is already over. And you have a down, and you were about to kill somebody, likely capping off a 4K. That is not a buff. Capping off a 4K with a Mory animation is not a buff at all. So, enough with that shit right now. Now, if they could, a way to kind of do something here, the only way this could be called a buff is if in the end game you down somebody and there's let's say you have one person dead and there's two people. If you can do a finisher Mory on the ground on that guy right there, and then that prematurely ends the game, that could be a nice buff to killer, because you could kill somebody and force a tie right there, instead of having to stand by hook and shit, and they could get a rescue. But I don't think that's the direction they're going in. This is likely just going to be a cap off 4K moment. That's not a buff. That's all this is. So don't expect that to be good. Next, got the killer changes. And we're just going to go ahead and do September and November. September, October, November, those two things. We're going to do those together here, because you will notice a very common theme there. My question is, looking at that, which killer there, of those 6 that are listed for September, October, November, which of those killers is getting a buff? Which one? Which one is it? Let's go through the list. Let's find out which one is getting a buff. Is it DC Merchant? Is DC Merchant getting a buff? Survivors throw the second they see her right now. Are they really going to give her a buff? Probably not. I don't think that's a buff. Survivors throw as soon as they see her right now. So, in terms of power, she's also okay. I don't think that's a buff. Next, Unknown. A very good character that is holding his own against 4-man Swift. He's an A tier. Are they buffing Unknown? Is that what they're doing? Are they giving him a buff? Probably not. So, those two are out. Who's next? Billy, who also was given a very good buff and is also a good character again. Are they going to buff the Hillbilly? Probably not. So that's out. Who's next? Twins. You knew behavior was coming back to the Twins, bro. You knew behavior was coming back to the twins. You couldn't live with your own failure. And where'd that bring you? Back to twins. After that laughable rework that was canceled earlier this year, you knew behavior was not going to admit defeat, and twins are getting a nerf, ladies and gentlemen. Like, they are not going to let that character go unnerfed, especially when the update for them ended up being a ginormous buff because they just left all the quality of life changes that were going to come in along with the massive nerfs. So you got a bunch of buffs and no nerfs to compensate there earlier in the year. You knew twins were going to be nerfed at some point. And the thing about the twins is that failed rework also kind of shined a spotlight on them. They don't even want to be in the conversation. If you're a twins player, seeing twins on any list regarding killer tweaks you don't want to see them there. You don't want these devs' talentless, filthy paws anywhere near this character. The fact that they're touching them again is bad news for you. So that's a nerf for sure. So there will be no killer nerfs coming in. There will be no killer buffs coming in September, October. Those are all nerfs. What's next? Plague? Plague's low-key one of the best killers in the game because she can just ignore medkits. Medkits are busted and OP. The fact that she ignores them inherently makes her one of the best killers in the game. Are they going to buff the Plague? Probably not. Who's left? Pinhead. Another character that people throw against. And it takes an actual coordinated team to defeat him when he gets going. Is he as strong as he used to be? No. Solo queues can now defeat Pinhead, whereas before when he had a box build, it was very much you kind of had to be 4-man Swift to defeat him. However, people still throw, and it does take a certain level of coordination to defeat Pinhead. He's still a solid mid-tier character. Do you think that's a buff? Unlikely. So the conclusion is that those 6 are not buffs. Everything there is a nerf, is the conclusion. The twins, that's nerf. There's no doubt about that. The others, they might get some add-on adjustments that might be good for you. Like maybe. I don't see it, though. I see those being nerfs, all 6 of them. Now, you might get some buffs in there to compensate, but overall, I think all 6 of those killer tweaks are all nerfs. None of those are on the immediate buff list. You look at the 3 that are here, Doctor, Nemeshit, and Dredge. Just by looking at those, you know those are buffs. Because of how those characters are doing right now. Bad. You look at these 6, you know all these 6 of these characters are doing good and not on the immediate buff list. What does that mean? Nerf. That's what that means. Where the fuck are the Myers changes? People, I even got, somebody laughed at me in my server a couple months ago, because I'm like, I don't think those Myers changes are coming. And they're like, but they said it on the Reddit Q&A, bruh. They said it on the Reddit Q&A that the Myers is getting a buff, and Freddy's getting a buff. Where are the Myers and Freddy buffs? Where are they? Nowhere. You're waiting till at least December on those. How long have we been waiting for a Myers change? Years. Years, bro. I have been calling for Myers to be buffed for years. I think as soon as I started adequately getting good at this game, I called for a Myers buff. Seriously. Like, as soon as you get good, you understand that character sucks. And Freddy, he is ass. Freddy is in trouble. And he needs that 110 shit to get reverted. And Freddy needs snare help. Bad, desperately. Snare should be the better power of the two. And they're just worthless right now. But anyway, look, there are no Myers and Freddy buffs there. Now again, the obvious thing there is that there's only 2 killers announced for November. That is an obvious disparity with the other 2. So it is possible that you will get some killer adjustments in November that are not mentioned here. However, my counter argument to that, and the reason why I don't believe that's happening, is because look at the number. 3, 4, 2. That's 9. They seem to have pushed one. Maybe one of these killers is not a significant update, and so they went ahead and pushed that forward. But the balance is the 3, 6, 9. So it's possible that one of the killers in September or October is only getting like a couple things. My guess is that's Hillbilly, just because we just got him back. I have played more Hillbilly now than I have in a while. The community likes Hillbilly. My guess is they're not going to change him very much, and that's why he was pushed forward. The other 3 are likely receiving substantial changes, and then Plague and Pinhead are going to get nerfed. So the conclusion is that you're not getting any killer nerfs, killer buffs, in a state of the game that desperately needs them. Now again, Dracula is coming as well during this time, so Dracula will possibly be your... Can't talk. Dracula will possibly be your new toy that helps you forget about this shit. But those changes do not look good for any of the killers that are mentioned there in the upcoming months. Lastly, perks. Now, we're not going to talk about the Survivor perks. These are not official patch notes. And again, there will likely be more perk updates than the ones that are listed here, simply because they left out all of the perks that are getting updated in August, so it's likely that they're leaving out the other perk updates as well. Now, also disclaimer, my computer can also be a little bit slow when changing screens during this new thing of filming, I just noticed. So, it might take a second for it to pop up here. But the 4 killer perks that they have shared with you today are Leverage, Crowd Control, Weave Attunement, and Shadowborn. Weave Attunement is taking a fat nerf. Nobody likes playing against that. It is annoying to face as Survivor. It is not a good killer perk. It is certainly better than a lot of the stuff that's in the game. However, that doesn't make it good. The standard for what good is doesn't just move for Weave Attunement because it's better than like over half the things in the game. Weave Attunement is still a bad perk in Dead by Daylight. It is annoying, but any Swift can deal with it. However, that being said, we know this company, we know the philosophy. We are back to rank-based matchmaking and rank-based matchmaking philosophy. Weave Attunement is taking a fat nerf. Don't get comfortable using that. However, the 3 that they shared with us that are likely going to be buffs are Leverage, Crowd Control, and Shadowborn. So I thought we would take a quick look at those 3 and kind of just see where we're going. Now again, I'm going to freeze up here for a second when I try to swap this over, so just bear with me. Hey, it didn't do it this time. Neat. Leverage. If y'all forget what this shit does because nobody runs it, let me inform you. Each time you hook a Survivor, it gains 1 token up to 10. Each token reduces the healing speed of all survivors by a stackable 5% boost per token up to 50% for the next 30 seconds. So let's calculate that. You're going to laugh when you see these numbers, by the way. I've already calculated it. I just need to pull it up. So basically, you take 16 seconds, and so at max, 50% of 60 seconds is 8.50. 8. And then you take 16 plus 8, you get a very interesting number, which some people will recall. I know it's sideways, but that number was 24. What their healing speed was going to be base in the final MMR update. But that got reverted, and then the philosophy was killed. So basically, at max, you get 5%, you get 24 seconds of healing for the next 30 seconds. That number is not going up. They are not going to willingly go above the 24-second number that was in the PTB that killed MMR. Healing will never go beyond that. So, based on what we know there, it is likely you're getting a time extension on that perk. My guess is around 30 seconds. That will likely go up to a minute if the machine learning buff is anything to go by. So, possibly, you will get 60 seconds of 24 seconds, which that number is big, so the thing there is, and again, that's max. That's max. And again, when you've gotten 10 hooks, 3, 6, 9. When you've gotten 10 hooks, every survivor has what? Hook stages. So I guess that's an argument for maybe they will buff its number a little bit. Because 2, 4, 6, 8. You could have 8 tokens on the thing and not have somebody dead, is that right? Right? Because you need 12 hooks. So you could theoretically have 8 on Weave Attunement. You could theoretically have 8 stacks of leverage and not have somebody dead yet. And what's that? What's that number? That's 40%, right? Yeah. So 16 times point is 6.4. So 16 plus 6.4. So if you play like a 12 hooking nice guy, once you have 8 stacks, you'll have 22.4 second heals. I think they're getting a time extension there. I don't see that number getting boosted at all. So, yeah, my guess is that's going to be set up to a minute, and that's still not going to be that good, just because the values are way too small at the beginning of the match for it to do anything. Next, we got crowd control, and it's starting to be a little slower here. Okay, crowd control. Whenever the survivor performs a rush ball action, crowd control triggers the effect, blocks the window for the next 60 seconds for every survivor. This perk's biggest problem is that it is a hex. The biggest buff this perk could receive is just deleting the hex mechanic on it. However, that being said, I do not see them doing that. They could just give it a time extension. Again, if you're not getting value in 60 seconds off of this perk, the perk is just bad design and not good. So it is possible they will add something to it. Maybe I know there's already a hex perk that blocks nearby pallets, so that wouldn't be how they fix it. I really can't tell you what they're going to do here. This perk is honestly outclassed by Bamboozle in every way. I don't know how you buff this. This is one I can't, off the top of my head here, I really don't know what they're going to do with this one. That being said, it's a hex. No matter what they do to it, it's still going to be bad because it's a hex. So, moving on. Shadowborn. When blinded by any means, you are granted 10% haste for 10 seconds. What the company is going to do here is up the time from 10 to maybe 30. That's what they will likely do. It will make the perk maybe a bit better against like flashbangers and toxic flashlight pieces of shit. However, it will not be better than Lightborn for doing that. So it will still not really have a niche because the survivor still gets the blind and by extension any save they were going for when they hit this. So even if they up that time, that perk isn't going to be good. What the perk needs is a new activation condition. I know completing a gen. I know that's in the same confines of machine learning. However, they could make it so if you complete any gen, you get 5% haste for 30 seconds. I think Doctor might actually run that. That would keep it separate from machine learning because machine learning gives you more time as well as a bigger haste bonus. However, it would be more general. I think that's what they should do with it. But that being said, what they're going to do is just up the time by around 20 seconds. We know this company. They're not creative. And once they do that, the perk, it will be better, admittedly, because if somebody flashlights you in a chase, you will have 30 seconds of 10% haste. That will be good in certain like matchups, I guess. But its overall consistency means Play With Your Food was still going to outclass it. Play With Your Food and Coup de Grace will still be better perks. So, that will still not be good even when they give it the time extension they're going to give it. And so that's all we got. That's all we got. Again, the only one I really don't have a predictable guess on what they're going to do is crowd control. Again, they could just simply buff that number as well. But again, if you can't get value off of crowd control after a minute, the perk is just inherently flawed. And so that's my take, bro. I am getting the hell out of here. GG's.